G'day guys, welcome back to the lab. Day 9 of COVID-19 lockdown in New Zealand. I know it's day 9 because I wrote it on the board over there behind me, so I didn't forget. Because like yesterday's video, I said it was day 7, but it was actually day 8. It was a bit embarrassing, wasn't it? I lost track of days already, and we're only just over a week into it. That's terrible. Anyway, so straight into it. No mucking around today. I'll show you what we're up to. So the grill is test fitted in there. We've got some nice stainless steel hardware to do that, so we'll be using those later on. Never mind the grottiness of everything else. Both brackets are done for this radiator overflow tank now. I think maybe yesterday's video I had this one side done but nothing else. So the other side is done. Look at that. Can't even tell it's there. So I need to make that flush with what's happening on the grill there, and I need to maybe paint it black or something like that, or anodize it or whatever. We can get on with that later on. But that's nice and snug in there. It does move around a little bit if you're rough with it. Like I say, we'll use some of that double-sided foam tape, or perhaps some U-channel rubber, and glue it along the top of that baffle that tank's sitting on, in behind the grill there, just on top of the radiator. So the first thing I'm going to get on with, I won't bother showing you that because it's all very boring, is just do the mounts for this other side for the intercooler header tank. I'll get that sorted out, and there's a couple of options progressing on from here. We can look at our crankcase ventilation system. So we can't have these just blanked off. These actually have to work. Low Volume Vehicle Technical Association rules basically stipulate that if it had a crankcase ventilation system in it, then it has to work the same way that it did from the factory. It doesn't have to be built exactly the same, it just has to function the same way it did. So we can't breathe that stuff to the atmosphere. So basically what it means is we need a vacuum supply to these parts here, these ports, I'll call them, check valves, PCV, pressurized crankcase ventilation valves. We need a port from there into one of these vacuum ports here on each side. So one of those on each of those, and then these ones here, these ones need to vent into the bottom of our air intake hose here, or through a catch can and then into that system there. Don't think we're going to need a catch can on this vehicle. It's probably not going to see a heck of a lot of track time. It might do at events such as Chrome and Power Cruise and that sort of stuff, and he might do a little bit of drag racing with it. It's certainly not going to be belting around an endurance race series and blowing heaps of oil out of the crankcase. So we can crack on with that. However, as we've seen in other videos, supply of parts could be an issue. Might have to just see what we've got kicking around on the shelf over there. Might be a bit short on hoses to get that stuff done completely. We were organising with Hartley Engines and Motorsport to get a custom billet oil filler snout, stalk, funnel, whatever we want to call it, and cap for there, because this one's been blanked off obviously because he had a dry sump system in the original setup in the Sylvia that this was in. So we need something to replace that. Hartley's are shut down at the moment, I believe, not deemed an essential business, so they're not operating. So that's one thing. We could possibly make one of those if we can source or find another one of these caps, although I'm pretty sure we're out. I think those two there, that's the only two I've got. There'd be a way around it if I really, really desperately wanted to, and that would be pull one off the March in the background there and clean it up in the lathe and all that sort of stuff, make it brand new, make what we want to do on here, and then replace it later on. Pretty expensive, time-consuming way around a small problem. Better to probably just wait. I mentioned exhaust system. Got about 7 of those bends. We need probably 10. That's probably what I'm going to do today. We can at least get one side done with what we've got there. We just need to confirm what's happening with the rear diff and make sure that is exactly where everything's going back here. Excuse the hoist in the way. Make sure those upper arm mounts, when they are moved to the correct position, that we don't end up causing a problem with what I'm doing with the exhaust. A little bit tricky. We can't really finish the diff install till I get some bolts and some other bits and pieces that we just can't get right now. So it's a little bit catch-22 on a lot of jobs, but I'm thinking I can get on with that. And then the owner needs to design our custom exhaust tips that'll poke out just behind the wheels here, basically center of frame for you guys right now. So that'll do. When that's done, I'll climb inside the car here, take the bumper out, probably put that back on the front of the car to get it out of the way. That'll be all right. And then I can finish off that gear lever, center console, handbrake mounts, that whole deal there. I can get on with that. It's probably going to burn a day or two anyway, so that'll be fun. All right, time for some work. There we go, that's pretty sorted. That is the mounts for the driver's side tank done. It's the intercooler cooling system header tank. So that's both of them done. As I say, you can barely see them. That mount there, this mount here, I've recessed it just a little bit from where the tab is from the grill, so it's kind of hidden a bit better than this other side. So a little bit of work to do with that, but that's no problem. Like I say, you could paint it, powder coat it, get it anodized, whatever. It'll disappear, you won't even know it's there. Right, so a little bit past lunchtime, and I'll come back and we'll get on. I think we'll just do the exhaust, make a start on it anyway. I've been thinking about that radiator cap. I might actually chop that out and shift that up, extend it up. It is a little bit recessed down in the engine bay where it is there. I suppose it's tidier like that. It would be nice if it was up near the top. Maybe chop out the center section of that tank and extend it up. Let's give us more volume. Make sure the air goes to the top and all that. Might be better. Have a think about that later on and do something with that. Starting to get there. It's actually not that far away from being able to run it. We do have a few pieces that are missing that'll stop that happening. The just drive-by-wire throttle there, we don't have a plug for that, and just silly little things like that. There'll be ways around it, but I might as well wait till we can get the proper parts and do it all properly. Rightio, before I get on to the exhaust, someone had a bit of a whinge about the shock absorbers being in upside down. Never mind the fact I already mentioned that and knew they were in upside down, but hey, whatever. They also had no springs in them, so it's not like they were staying in the car like that. Anyway, I'm going to pull those out, give them a clean up, make sure they actually do fit in the car the right way up. It's possible they might not due to that spring seat and the way they've been fitted into the car. So I'll crack on with that. That'll be pretty boring to watch, so I'll just show you when they're clean. Alright, there we go. Your whinges, shock absorbers are now in the correct way and a bit cleaner. Of course, still no springs in them. And we do have to take them back out again to sort out these top mounts, because I don't like the idea of even having a crush tube there in the chassis. I don't like the idea of just poking that bolt through, having those shocks under single shear like that. That's not really the way it should be done. And that bolt hangs out into the wheel tub area, pretty damn close to the wheel when that goes up full travel. So that's not ideal by a long way, but that's where the wheel sits in the guard at ride height. Basically, it is going to ride pretty high. Can't really do a lot about that. I need to go and have a look at some pictures of the vehicle the way it was before. This should actually be lower than what it was originally. I've moved those lower mounts. These are adjustable, as you can see. So they were in the next bolt hole up. I've actually dropped them down again to get the car as low as possible. There's no issues with clearance on the diff head up there. You can see there's plenty of room. There is an issue with clearance with the routing for those fuel hoses. They're going to clash with that arm, so that's okay. It's not a big deal. I can shift that mount there and that mount there, and it gives us heaps of length. Probably oops, sorry, crashed the camera again. Probably come straight from here and run beside that and underneath that arm, and that will actually alleviate that issue there. It won't crush them anymore, so that's fine. Brake hose and everything that's on this side should be all good. yeah, concerned about that ride height. I would like it lower, but we've got angles of arms to consider and all sorts of things. These lower arms are not so bad. They're actually on the lower mount point. We've got those adjustable. There's 2 mounting points, so they're almost flat. Yeah, they're a little bit tapering down to the back, so they could come up at the rear, and those angles will be absolutely fine. The top arms, quite a bit of an angle there. Obviously, they're still on the original mounts. Need to be chopped out and lifted up higher. And of course, with those fuel hoses out of the way, that'll give us more room there. And the good news is I don't have to do any, at this point anyway, extensive modifications in these wheel arches. I just have to repair this dodgy as all hell repair that's in here. So hopefully that actually is not bad for the ride height for the type of car that it is. They are quite large wheels. Like I say, I want to look at some earlier photos just to confirm that's where we're at. Those mounts, as I said, are set up to make the car lower than what it was before. These ones here. So fingers crossed we're all right there. So I've compared this. This is obviously, let's very carefully lower this back down. Set up on the transjack to simulate ride height. So we'll lower that back down. It's always scary when you're doing things like that and you're standing under the car. So that's now at full extension, full droop, no weight on it, i.e. the car's completely airborne. And that lines up pretty well with where our front hub is. So she's not, might be a touch lower, could be just the angles deceiving us, who knows. I did measure it before, it should be about right. She's not going to be a super low rider, that's for sure. It's just not really possible to do that with the way the car's been designed. Like some of the late model utes, it's really hard to get them to sit and look low just because of the way they've been designed with the guards and everything like that. So anyway, I might tickle on with a little bit more. We are fast running out of day, so I'm not going to get any exhaust done today. I had to look after our little one while the wife went shopping again. That burnt up a couple of hours, and that's the way it is. Never mind. Alright, so some good news. Just used my masking tape technique on the exhaust bends here. Nothing's cut yet, so don't get too fussy about where things are. That's not the finished product. But basically we can come off the back of those mufflers. 2 bends, both of them will need cutting down to lengths. We'll have to start that radius a little bit sooner here. So we're going to chop a little bit off here to give us some more clearance here. Although there's quite a lot, you know, I don't know, there must be 40 mils through there. It's not terrible. So we need to move that forward. We need to watch we don't come too close to here. Again, there's still 20 mils there probably. That needs to come over this way. The other bend needs to point that way a little bit. And then we can come through here with probably something like 30 degrees, something like that. And then a straight pipe all the way back to where we want to come out of the back of the car. And the good thing about that is we only need to use 1 more bend and 2 pieces of pipe. And over on the bench here, we've got 3 bends, so I can have a disaster and totally screw one up and still get away with it, and 2 pieces of pipe. 1 bit of pipe might not actually be all the best. It is a brand new piece of pipe, but one end was a little bit not round when it came from steel and tube, so you get that. The other piece is actually a second-hand piece of pipe. I use this for a dryer tube for my air compressor, so it has had a couple of things welded on it that would need to be chopped off, but hey, it's an exhaust pipe and I can polish that and it's as good as new, you know. It's not like it's going to not work because it's been used for a air dryer on a compressor before. So that's pretty cool. That'll get us from the headers all the way through the mufflers and up over the diff and out the back of the car there. Excuse me. That's not what you're thinking it is. And then I can get on with making the exhaust tips. So we'll probably end up using might be close to a 45-degree bend. Come from this pipe here and poke it out this general direction, and then make whatever the exhaust tip is based on what the customer wants. It might be sort of something that's got a little bit of clearance from the guard. It might start there, it might come down, it might taper towards the back, and just fill that in and try and make it look like it fits, if you know what I mean. Try and keep a similar sort of style to that sort of thing somehow. I don't know. I'm not really an artist. Some people say, but I'm not really an artist. So that's all looking pretty cool, isn't it? I'm pleased I cleaned those shocks, and they actually look nicer up the right way too. And never mind the fact they'll actually perform properly, because you won't be running the valves through the bloody air bubble at the top and all that sort of carry on. So that'll do. That's our day 9. I know it's day 9 because I wrote it on the board, see? It's day 9. So that's that done. And yeah, tomorrow definitely get in there and get on with that exhaust. I did measure up the ride height and everything. It looks like we're going to have 200 mils ground clearance here at ride height, which sounds like a lot. Probably won't look bad on the ground at all. There's options to go slightly lower profile tyres and reduce that. That's quite a high tyre, would give us 200 mils ground clearance at the guards. Bearing in mind, like the exhaust is actually hanging with no support. The exhaust sits a little bit lower than everything else. It's hard to show you because of where the hoist is. There we go, if we sneak through there, the exhaust is maybe about 70 mils lower than the rest of the car. So, and that's, I think I've explained this before, that's to do with clearance issues. Under the car it is hanging quite a bit lower than what it normally would do, but there's one critical area right there, not much room there. So hey, I might look at relieving that general area. As you can see, there's been some welding there, and there's been some welding there. That's the seat bracket mount for the driver's seat. So this area here is actually inside something that you can't see, so there's no reason why that can't be persuaded with a large lump of metal on the end of a stick, otherwise known as a hammer. Cool. Alright guys, hopefully that's keeping you all happy, seeing things actually starting to go together. Look at that, it's got a grill on there, almost ready to stay on there. We just I've got to figure out what I'm going to do with that last hose to the return to the intercooler header tank. We can get that sorted out. That whole front end can come to pieces, tidy everything up, take lots of photos for LVVTA, paint it all, put it all together, sort out the wiring harness, and all that can be buttoned up for the last time, but not until we get some fittings. So hopefully Auntie Jacinda relaxes her rules soon, and we might be able to get something in through the couriers. All right, cheers, bye.